Black Bear Clan, Books 1 through 3 by Zoe Ashwood. Book 1, Her Orc King, a monster fantasy romance. Chapter 1. If you told me 2 weeks ago I'd be kidnapped, sold at auction, and dragged to the Orc territory deep in the forest of Belhaven, I'd call you crazy and distance myself post-haste. But here I am, trapped in a wagon, trussed up while 2 massive orc guards sit on either side of me, their faces grim. I'm probably well on my way to becoming a sex slave, and I need to find a way out of here now. I promise I won't try to run again, I plead, doing my best impression of a meek damsel in distress. Or stab you. The older of the 2 guards, the one with a deeply scarred face called Ozork, scowls at me. That's what you said the last time. And the time before that, adds the younger orc, Nikar, grinning as if receiving a stab wound in the thigh is something to be proud of. They've been remarkably calm about my escape attempts. Ever since they purchased me like a cow at the market in Ultrup, they've treated me kindly. Even though their idea of kindness was giving me an additional blanket to wrap myself against the night cold as they forced me to sleep on the ground by the campfire. They'd ordered me to bathe in the first stream we'd come across after leaving town, probably because I smelled horrendously bad after spending a week in the slave barracks in Ultrup. But they hadn't given me any privacy, and I couldn't wash properly in the freezing river, swollen from the melting snow. So now I'm dirty, still dressed in the simple wool gown I was wearing when the band of slavers kidnapped me. I can't even smell myself anymore, so I think my odor must be terrible. That hasn't prevented the orcs in the party from sniffing me. Every warrior has come close to me at some point and taken a deep whiff of my hair, the skin on my wrists, my neck. I'd endured it all, petrified. I thought they were smelling me to determine if I was tasty or something even more nefarious. But all they'd done was grunt and move off again. There's no telling what these creatures have planned for me. I've heard all the horrific tales about orcs and their lairs deep in the mountains. But I won't stop trying to escape. I'll keep attempting different tactics until something sticks. How long before we get there? I ask instead of protesting again. I make my voice whiny and trembling. If they think I'm weak, they might let their guard down and allow me to escape. Not long, is the curt reply I get. I sit straighter. Up until this moment, every reply had been, stop talking, or you'll know when we get there. So we are nearing our destination. We passed through an orc village several miles ago, and one of the cloth-covered wagons in our convoy stopped there, along with at least 2 of the human passengers who had been bought at auction with me. There were 4 of us, an elderly woman with silver hair, a middle-aged man, and a boy, perhaps 12 years old. What happened to the child? I asked my guards. I haven't dared ask before because the answer might be too horrifying to bear, but I owe my fellow captives that small mercy. To learn of their fate and maybe send word to their families if I can manage to sneak away. I would have hoped that the others would do the same for me, only I have no one to notify. The people who might come searching for me would definitely not have my best interests at heart. Why do you want to know? Asks the older orc, glowering fiercely. I grind my teeth, then force myself to reply in a calm voice. Because he's young. He was so scared. Why did you even buy him? The 2 orcs exchange a long look. Then the younger one shrugs as if to say, might as well tell her. He is being returned to his village, the older orc says. 2 of our best warriors are escorting him home. Oh. I blink, surprised at the answer. I've been picturing child slave labor, other horrible things, but if what they're saying is true, the boy was likely saved by them. Will you let me go and escort me back, to my village? I almost choke on the word home. I haven't known a true home in years, and I don't know what I'd find if these orcs ever did return me to our small settlement. A grueling job, debt, and a man all too willing to forgive it, with the right incentive. I shudder at the thought and focus instead on glaring at the orcs. No, says Ozark. You are staying with us. But why? Even to my own ears, my voice sounds whiny, yet I can't help myself. Nikar opens his mouth as if to say something, but his companion kicks his shin to shut him up. They glare at each other for a moment, then stare out the back of the wagon. All right, so there's definitely a purpose to my being dragged through these forests and hills. Whatever fate awaits me there, I'm sure it's not good. I squeeze my knees together, a sense of foreboding washing over me. There isn't much use a 26-year-old human could be to an orc except for sex. My chin wobbles at the terrifying thought. I'm to be a sex slave to some brutish orc, and judging by the size of these guys, it won't be a pleasant experience. At least I'm not a virgin. I push away the stray thought, trying to think of a way to escape. If I could just get away from them for a minute. But they'd even posted a full guard when I'd begged to attend to my bodily needs, like I was some sort of precious cargo. And maybe I am. I narrow my eyes at the orc sitting beside me. If I'm valuable, maybe that's my bargaining chip. Before I can go down that line of thought, the wagon slows and noise erupts around us, many voices clamoring all at once. The horses whinny, and for a moment, fear shoots through me. If we're being attacked by bandits, I'll lose what little protection I have in my current situation. It's sobering to realize that I now prefer the company of these two orcs and their band of soldiers to other kinds of orcs. At least my current owners, haven't sought to harm me. Then the tone of the calls registers. They're happy greetings, even though the voices are gruff and deep. More orcs, then. Nikar brandishes a large hunting knife, and I cringe away from him, yelping in fear. But he rolls his eyes, grabs my tied wrists, and slashes the rope tying me. I struggle out of my restraints and rub my wrists, though, in truth, the knots weren't tight enough to chafe my skin. Then I lean forward and peer out of the back of the covered wagon. I can't see much apart from the forest, but the crowd of orcs gathering to receive us is a glaring clue. We have arrived. Chapter 2. Ozark jumps out of the wagon, lowers a set of steps, and offers me a hand. I take it. I would much rather exit by myself, but I don't trust my legs right now. Not with the mass of strangely quiet orcs watching my every move. Come on, Ozark says. Don't be afraid. Easy for him to say. He's a large, brutish, and green as the rest of them. Unlike me, I'm not a small woman, but every orc warrior I've met so far has towered over me, taller by a head or more. They could crush me with those big fists, break me with thick arms. Ozark positions himself at my front, Nikar at my back, and we move through the crowd and deeper into the forest. Orcs part for us, but some of them linger, leaning in for a quick sniff of me. Nikar bats them back with sharp words of reprimand and keeps them from touching me. At first, I don't understand what's so special about this part of the forest, why we stopped here, or why all these orcs have gathered to wait for us in this exact spot. The uneven ground is hard to walk on, moss-covered boulders dotting the forest floor. It would be quite beautiful and serene if it wasn't for the throng of shuffling, murmuring orcs following us. Then I see it, a wooden hatch built into the side of a small rise, the wood camouflaged so well it melds with the forest almost seamlessly. Only the faint glimmer of a black iron keyhole portrays it for what it is, an entrance to an orc dwelling. Suddenly, similar doors appear all around us, or rather, I know what to look for now, so I see them clearly. More orcs peer from those openings. An orc woman stands with a baby on her hip, her face lit up in curiosity, and an elderly orc couple gaze at me with what I can only assume is hostility. They've brought me to a forest settlement, and everywhere I look, more orcs are gawping at me. It's true, then. Every story I've heard. They're hulking, uncouth barbarians who live in holes in the ground. I don't know why I'm surprised. We continue upward until we reach a dip in the slope. I squint at it. In the twilight, it's hard to make out anything among the lichen-covered trees and rocks. Then the door swings outward, a massive, thick slab of oak wood reinforced with black iron, and in the opening stands a male with an iron crown on his head. The Orc King. I didn't even know orcs had kingdoms, or any sort of political structure, apart from ruthless bands that pillage the human lands. But the deep bows of my guards, strong warriors both, and every orc who followed us in a procession to this place tell me that they either respect or fear their ruler. Silence descends on the forest, marred only by the occasional sniff from behind me. It's as if the gathered orcs are still trying to smell me. The king steps forward. He's taller than Nikar and broader in the shoulders. Where Nikar is young for a warrior, the male in front of me has clearly seen battle and hardship. Scars pepper his arms, and even though he's wearing a sleeveless linen tunic over his leather pants, he looks uncivilized. Welcome, warriors of the Black Bear clan. His voice booms over the crowd. Thank you for bringing back this woman and the provisions for our city. Ah, so the other wagons in our guard convoy must have been filled with purchases from Ultrep. Considering the fact that their settlement seemed to be situated in the middle of the forest, I can't imagine that they're a farming people. I wonder what they have to trade for the things that they need. Furs, maybe. Tonight we will feast, the king continues. But first, let us see if our new guest might be matched with one of you. His dark gaze lands on me, and I stiffen. What does he mean, matched with one of them? The orcs roar in answer, though, their eyes all trained on me. Some are hopeful, some downright leering, but all are monstrous and horrible. All my suspicions are coming true. They have brought me here to be a slave to one of these brutes. I tense, wondering if I could outrun them. If I caused some sort of distraction and bolted for the deep forest, could I make it far enough for them to lose my trail? No. They're stronger, larger, and they know the territory much better than me. My poor choice of clothing and shoes would also be a hindrance compared to the orcs' heavy boots. There seems to be some sort of order to what's happening around me. The male orcs and several women form two lines facing each other. They create a corridor with roughly 4 feet of space between them, extending from me to the king. Nikar gives me a gentle push from behind. Go on. I peer up at him. Why? What will they do? Nothing. Unless one of them is your mate, he mutters. It is a great honor to become mated. Great honor for whom? I squeak. But all the orcs are staring at me expectantly, and I know I only have 2 options. I can either walk down the double line on my own, or someone will carry me. I step forward, putting one foot in front of the other. The first pair of orcs, one on either side of me, lean in and inhale deeply. I can't imagine the experience is pleasant, what with my dirty gown and unwashed body, but no one is forcing them to do it. I lift my head higher. They could at least have had the decency to allow me to bathe. But no. They wanted to do this straight away. Serves them right if they get a good whiff of my sweat. Slowly I advance down the line. No one touches me, and with every pair of orcs I pass, my hope grows a little stronger. Maybe I won't get matched with anyone. If that happens, maybe they'll let me go, or maybe they'll chain me up somewhere and force me to be their slave anyway. For all I know. But at least I won't have to endure being bound to one of these creatures. With that thought in mind, I quicken my steps, almost tripping in my hurry. Orcs around me grunt with displeasure, taking quick, hasty sniffs of me, but I don't care. If I can make it to the end of the line, I'll be free. The Orc King grows larger and closer I get to him. He's waiting in front of the door, arms crossed, an almost bored expression on his rough-hewn face. No matter the speech he gave his people, their ruler doesn't think much of me, or the idea of being matched. He doesn't put himself in the line, doesn't even lean forward eagerly to catch my scent. So I keep my gaze on him. If I can make it to him... The last pair of orcs step in, inhaling. They're large warriors with weapon belts bristling with steel, but neither of them seems affected. They retreat, their faces reflecting twin expressions of disappointment before they mask it quickly. So they want this. They want me. Whatever this meeting thing is, it's desirable enough for them to show emotion. Mere steps separate me from the Orc King now. I slow down, panicked breaths quieting. I've made it. I walked through the crowd, and no one claimed me, so I'll... The king's nostrils flare. My belly tightens at the fierce expression on his face, but not in the fear. No, this isn't the response I'm used to. What? He lurches forward, then stops himself as if the movement was involuntary. He inhales deeply through his nose, and a loud growl reverberates from his chest. Mine.